Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. Today, we're diving into the tumultuous world of electric vehicles and exploring why the grand push toward electrification might be hitting a roadblock. With governments globally pushing hard for EV adoption through massive incentives and stringent emissions standards, it's becoming clear that this was not just about saving the planet. It was about forcing a shift in how we drive. But as we'll see, the EV revolution is far from smooth sailing. Buckle up as we navigate through the 7 major reasons why the electric vehicle push might be falling apart. Reason number 7. Oil dependence, the hidden cost of cheap gas. Cheap gasoline has long been a cornerstone of economic stability in the US and other Western countries, but rising fuel costs have complicated the picture. The electric vehicle revolution was envisioned as a solution to make oil less relevant, yet the transition is far from seamless. While the US produces significant amounts of oil, much of it is crude and less refined, which complicates its use. American refineries, built for higher quality oil from sources like Mexico and Venezuela, struggle with this lower-grade crude. As a result, the US exports its crude and imports refined oil from less stable regions. Ongoing conflicts in Europe and the Middle East have made oil more expensive and harder to manage. This volatility highlights the urgent need for alternative solutions, but electric vehicles haven't yet provided a definitive answer. Reason number 6. Technology war with China, a geopolitical game. If you think the drive towards EVs is all about environmental benevolence, think again. The electric vehicle revolution is deeply intertwined with geopolitics. The rise of China as a formidable competitor in the global automotive industry has shifted the focus from mere technological advancement to a full-blown technology war. China recognized early on that it could not compete with Western automakers in the combustion engine arena. Instead, they invested heavily in EV technology, and now they lead the world with advanced infrastructure and a dominant position in critical raw materials. The strategy was to push for mass EV adoption to leap ahead in global automotive standings. Yet, despite these efforts, Western automakers are struggling with high import fees on Chinese EVs, which have become a significant barrier to market entry and competition. Reason number 5. Running costs, the pricey reality of electrification. The promise of cheaper transportation with EVs hasn't quite panned out as expected. Initially, it was believed that EVs would reduce costs for both manufacturers and consumers, thanks to fewer moving parts and reduced maintenance. However, the reality is quite different. Production costs for EVs remain high, and legacy automakers are struggling to make a profit. Additionally, recent surveys indicate that EVs encounter 80% more issues than their gasoline counterparts. One major drawback is the running costs. While home charging could be cost-effective, many users rely on public charging stations, where costs can be inconsistent and often higher than refueling with gasoline. With the increasing emphasis on renewable energy, which itself requires expensive components like batteries, the cost of electricity is expected to rise. This could make running EVs even more expensive in the future, contradicting the initial cost-saving promises. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point, reason number 4, the misconception of cheap EVs. Governments worldwide have heavily promoted EV adoption, expecting that economies of scale would eventually make these vehicles cheaper than traditional combustion cars. The theory was that with high production volumes and generous incentives, EVs would become more affordable and seamlessly replace gasoline and diesel vehicles. However, this vision hasn't materialized. Despite massive investments and incentives, EV manufacturers are facing low sales figures and high expenses. The anticipated benefits of economies of scale have not been realized, and many consumers still prefer traditional cars. As a result, several countries are scaling back or eliminating their support programs for EVs. Legacy automakers, too, are struggling with financial losses on their EV programs, leading to postponed or canceled projects. The push for electrification, it seems, is hitting some serious bumps in the road. Reason number 3, energy grid limitations and infrastructure challenges. A major obstacle to widespread EV adoption is the strain on energy grids and charging infrastructure. In 2024, countries like the US and parts of Europe struggled with the increased load from EVs. For example, California faces frequent blackouts as more EVs recharge during heat waves, while Texas's already strained grid could suffer more power shortages if not upgraded. Moreover, there aren't enough public fast-charging stations to meet the rising demand. Many urban EV owners lack reliable home charging and are forced to use sparse, costly, or occupied public chargers. The uneven development of charging stations, especially in rural areas, complicates long-distance travel. Without significant investments in both energy grids and charging infrastructure, the transition to electric vehicles remains challenging. Reason number 2, supply chain disruptions and material shortages. A major issue in the EV revolution is the strain on supply chains for critical materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. These resources are essential for EV batteries but are scarce and sourced from a few key regions. The extraction and processing of these minerals are not only environmentally damaging, but also a geopolitical concern. In 2024, the fragility of the global supply chain became evident. Lithium prices have surged due to high demand, and new sources face delays. Cobalt, largely mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is tainted by ethical issues like child labor. As the US and Europe compete with China for these resources, Western automakers face significant challenges. The supply chain's instability threatens the ability to produce EVs at scale, complicating the transition to electric vehicles and casting doubt on the feasibility of widespread adoption. Reason number 1, the reality of zero emissions. The idea of zero emissions is undoubtedly appealing, promising a cleaner and more sustainable future. However, the reality is more complex. While EVs eliminate tailpipe emissions, their production involves significant carbon output. Creating batteries and electric motors demands rare materials like lithium and cobalt, which require substantial energy to extract and process. Despite claims, EVs might not be as green as they seem. To offset their initial carbon footprint, an EV may need to travel over 50,000 miles, assuming it's powered entirely by renewable energy. Yet, with 70% of global electricity still generated from fossil fuels, the reduction in emissions might just be shifting from tailpipes to power plants. As renewable energy sources like wind and solar grow, their impact remains limited. By 2050, they're expected to supply only about 40% of global electricity. What's your take on the true environmental benefits of EVs? Are they living up to their green promises? Or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the challenges facing the EV revolution, be sure to subscribe to Piston Pundit and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest vehicle updates and upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.